Her attorney said that we should get those by the end of next week. And now, of course, from Justin Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, we heard a little bit about their plan. She talked about how they want this case moving forward as quickly as possible.
Judge Louis Lineman has officially given Blake Lively a minor win. But don't think of it as a big victory just yet. Several of her demands were immediately turned down because they were deemed impractical. Moreover, the ones that the judge did let barely had an impact on the case's conclusion. But we need to discuss how this little win could impact her case against Justin Baldoni in the future. Is there any chance Blake could help her? Let's analyze it.
And Justin Baldoni in this lawsuit with Blake Lively, because I think she's horrible. She's made up this whole thing because she tried to steal his movie. But he is the most overly feminized man I've had to endure in recent history. Everything he says is self-flagellating.
As I've already mentioned, Blake Lively now has a little advantage over Justin Baldoni, but the same court recently dismissed one of her more aggressive attempts to hold him accountable. She seemed to have been putting a lot of effort into getting this outcome. However, her most recent ruling not only contradicted her position, but also exposed the possible flaw in her supporting data. Blake sought credible proof to support her serious claims of misconduct at work and a smear campaign. However, the public, the media, and even some of her once well-known associates are now questioning her case. But before we continue, let's take a moment to reflect on what has led us to this point. The It Ends With Us controversy took an unexpected turn a few weeks ago when Blake's legal team requested full access to Justin Baldoni's phone logs, including all of his emails, messages, and even call logs with his public relations team and other Wayfarer Studios employees. According to a statement released by his lawyers, Mike Gottlieb and Ezra Hudson, Lively filed subpoenas to reveal alleged tactics used to damage her reputation and personal life over the past year, People said. Blake and her team argue that the negative public image of Baldoni is mostly due to her influence. They assert that every disparaging article, social media post, and even TikTok that ridicules her performance is a component of a broader effort to damage her. However, Blake's team essentially admitted that they didn't yet have it when the court asked for concrete evidence, but they were certain they would find it on Justin's phone. This is how we arrived to this point, where Blake is actively seeking proof and Justin's legal team maintains they have nothing to hide. Friedman, Baldoni's attorney, told People magazine that Lively's lawyers were requesting too much information in response to the subpoenas, even though legal demands for information are a typical part of litigation. In addition to real-time location monitoring, he said they were asking for all calls, messages, and data records for the past 2.5 years, regardless of their significance. This thorough search for evidence identifies a serious problem. Blake's team appears to be eagerly searching any factual foundation to back up their accusations, but they haven't located any as of yet. And this behavior? It set off a chain reaction. The moment it became clear that she could be trying to alter the account, doubts about Blake's argument grew. At first, she could have believed she had enough proof, until Baldoni released whole pages with conflicting data. The judge has made a ruling in more recent times. At that moment, headlines such as, U.S. Court Denies Blake Lively's Request for Justin Baldoni's Phone Records in Legal Battle began to surface.
So, what was the choice exactly? Let's analyze it.
According to The Hollywood Reporter, Blake Lively's request to see Justin Baldoni's phone records was denied by a U.S. judge in a legal dispute that is still ongoing and involves allegations of impropriety and retaliation. The court determined that the request was an unwarranted invasion of Baldoni's privacy. Judge Louis Lineman said that even if other individuals were engaged in the alleged event, Lively was not warranted in being granted access to a significant amount of private material. The judge emphasized that since phone records include sensitive and private information, they shouldn't be released indiscriminately. Hold on, though, didn't we also highlight Blake's little triumph? Let's take a look at Variety's piece to see what it was. The headline of the piece was, It Ends With Us Lawsuit Judge Issues Mixed Ruling in Blake Lively's Subpoena for 2 years of Justin Baldoni's team's phone records. The judge partially authorized Blake's subpoena, but refused other parts of it. She was specifically granted access to certain data, such as the names and contact information of relevant people, through further legal processes. However, more general demands for phone records and personal data were denied because they were thought to be too intrusive. Technically speaking, Blake does have limited access to certain of Baldoni's crew's phone logs. Wouldn't it be a partial victory? Well, not exactly. Because Blake never accepts anything less than excellence. It's all or nothing for Blake. Therefore, when the court only gave her a little portion instead of all she asked for, it was far from the victory she had hoped for. According to the narrative, Baldoni immediately filed a lawsuit to prevent the publication of particular phone information after receiving the order, according to Lively's lawyers. They said that Lively's legal team plans to refine their approach and make more targeted demands directly to the parties involved in the issue. In other words, Blake's gang appears to be laying blame. They give the appearance that Justin rushed to court to restrict the records as soon as they were sought, even though the court itself decided what she could and could not read. Regarding the idea of refining their approach, a lot of people believe it's just a legal way for them to admit that their first request was too broad and that they're now trying to make it more specific. Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, praised the ruling, saying it prevented Lively from unnecessarily invading his client's privacy. He described her legal approach as a desperate attempt to obtain proof against Baldoni. Friedman has worked hard to help Baldoni and has been actively involved in this case. And since the most recent court decision favored them, Team Baldoni has been celebrating. Some online replies have been straightforward. A person remarked, "Nothing upsets a narcissist more than being accused of something they definitely did." Someone else remarked, "Are her lawyers even competent?" It appears that she took the initiative herself. One person joked, "The judge must be so tired of this by now." And still another observes, "I hope Brian Friedman subpoenas Taylor Swift. The cast of It Ends With Us, Colleen Hoover, Sony executives throw Ryan Reynolds into that mix too." It's clear that people are closely watching how this develops. Now, however, there is more worrying news for Team Blake. If you thought Blake was already struggling, things have just gotten worse. She first believed she could control the narrative, especially when she teamed up with the New York Times to refute Baldoni. But now that she is losing control of the circumstance, she is having trouble controlling the reaction. Those who formerly assisted her in spreading the news are now turning away, and the tide has quickly turned against her. This latest court decision has made it clearer that Blake Lively could be doing whatever it takes to support her cause, as many had predicted. Things have gotten so bad that Blake is now targeting content creators, basically everyone talking about this topic online, because she reportedly didn't anticipate how public opinion would turn against her. She appears to have shifted her focus when the judge denied her previous attempt to silence Justin Baldoni rather than accepting the ruling. If she couldn't silence Baldoni, it seems she tried to silence the entire internet. However, that strategy also didn't turn out as planned. Blake's legal team is reportedly now pursuing content creators for endorsing Baldoni's version of events. In a recent court filing, her attorneys specifically identify the producers, claiming they are restating Justin's arguments in an attempt to portray them as a threat to the case. The irony has not gone unnoticed. Critics point out that Blake herself provided the New York Times access to private conversations and material prior to this case ever being properly filed. Due to privacy concerns, many people are increasingly questioning the disparity. One artist particularly mentioned in the paper is Perez Hilton. It's important to remember that Hilton is also represented by Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman. Given this connection, it is not unexpected that Blake's team believes that pro-Baldoni content is a part of a coordinated operation against her. The lawsuit also mentions Candace Owens, who has been actively following the matter. It is noteworthy that Owens had publicly told Blake not to sue her, stating that she didn't have the time. She is now particularly mentioned in spite of this. At the heart of this legal dispute is a protection order, which is typical in circumstances such as these. However, sources state that Blake's team is pushing for extreme measures. They are requesting that all celebrity interactions and correspondence, including Taylor Swift's, be classified as attorney-only. This would suggest that the public, media, and content creators would not have access to these records. Critics claim this is a double standard. Blake Lively seemed to want significant information to stay out of the public spotlight after publicly criticizing Baldoni on several occasions and even allowing her husband to make jokes about it on Saturday Night Live. This has led to widespread mistrust. with some contending that maintaining secrecy is more about controlling the appearance than it is about protecting private data. They argue that if the action was only about seeking justice, there wouldn't be an effort to limit access to potentially incriminating evidence. Deadline's analysis on the current legal back and forth has highlighted the anomalies in these files. But Blake's suggestion to restrict content creators? There, things have become rather hot. According to her team, artists who mimic Baldoni's publicly available comments are contributing to what they call a misinformation echo chamber. However, public opinion suggests that story management rather than case integrity preservation may be the secrecy movement's actual objective. Name-calling content creators looks like a clear form of intimidation, and Blake's team seems to be well aware that certain publications might undercut her case, especially if they prove that her claims aren't as solid as she stated. If she can't control the story, she's trying to scare everyone who talks about it. Naturally, the news concerning the protection order was also picked up by the media outlets that Blake's staff is said to have been providing for months. They took sure to leave out, though, that Blake made the whole matter public. Now, she is trying to conceal herself behind privacy, the same privacy that she disregarded when it served her interests. The basic problem is simple: if you leak private texts, file lawsuits through the media, and turn your case into a circus, you cannot suddenly claim privacy when the tables are turned on you. Content creators aren't the problem. Blake's incapacity to oversee the narrative she thought she could construct is. Furthermore, she is no longer getting away with it online. Regarding villains, have you all seen the A Simple Favor 2 trailer? The strangest coincidence is that Blake plays a villain in the movie even since she is known as one in real life. The problem is that, despite releasing the trailer, the corporation has restricted comments on the video. I'm not sure what else may indicate that Blake's life will change drastically. There were even suggestions that Anna Kendrick should place Blake and Ryan in the basement for the debut. Really? Where's the lie? What do you think, though? Will Blake survive this entire situation, or is her reputation completely over? Please share your thoughts here, as I'm feeling anxious about this situation. Stay there, and thanks for watching, because what's the next story? Oh, you're not going to like this at all.
Watch out.